What that feel that Spot talking about? SpongeBob keep on failing every time. It like SpongeBob I told him he knows the book in like the back of his hand. Like he can read the whole entire driving book without even looking at it. He can take a written test and get A's every time on the written test. Right? This man passed boarding school 100 times more than anybody. But then when he comes to the last part, getting behind the wheel, he forget everything. How you go from being the top of your class in a boarding school, knowing the back of a driving manual, to failing every second you get in the boat?
Used to be one of the best characters of the entire show. What changed? Well, let's look through milestones and phases of each part of the show to figure out when Patrick turned for the worse. So for example, the first phase is Season 1. In this phase, Patrick is a supportive and good friend who helps SpongeBob like anyone else. Some examples are in the episode Help Wanted, when he encouraged SpongeBob to go for the fry cook position in the Krusty Krab when SpongeBob started chickening out. He also gave SpongeBob some advice when first meeting Sandy in Tree at the Tree Dome. Another positive example of Patrick's help is when he tries to help SpongeBob pass the boating test in boating.
A crazy part about Patrick is like, I want to know like why the Patrick brain seems so different from other characters in the show. It like question that spark a lot of empathy to people. Like, I want to see what if Patrick brain really functioning right, because
school. However, just because Patrick was a supportive character during the time doesn't mean he didn't have his stupid moments. In Hall Monitor, he doesn't realize SpongeBob is the maniac. There's also many examples in the season where both of them act like complete idiots, like in Squidward the Unfriendly Ghost. But we're mainly looking for Patrick to be stupid, like in Hooky, where he convinces SpongeBob to play hooky with him. Overall, during this phase, he was supportive but also stupid. He did dumb things like in Suds, but whenever he did something stupid, he didn't mean any harm. He was always trying to help. He was a good friend. At this point, his character was one that could cheer on, and he was very likable.
So he would try to be
Phase 2, smart but stupid. And you're going to hear that a lot more. In the second phase, Patrick embraces his more stupid side. In general, he just becomes overall more stupid, but he also becomes kind of smart. Some of his more stupider moments are shown in Big Pink Loser, where he can't even open a jar. He also acts stupid in Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 3 during the famous wallet scene. Some of his more smarter moments appear in The Secret.
One of the most striking things about Patrick is his ability to switch between stupid and smart. It's as if his brain is constantly talking between different modes that you really wouldn't think Patrick would know. Like, you always think Patrick is dumb, but in phase 2, it's like Patrick can switch from being dumb, then he can switch from being smart when you want to.
Box where he hides a secret picture of SpongeBob from him. That's kind of smart. We also see him scheming in I'm Wood Stupid, where he convinces his parents that SpongeBob is the dumb one. As we see, he's smart but also stupid. His character doesn't really change that much at all.
He did convince his parents that SpongeBob was stupid, so his parents won't really think that he's the stupid one.
However, he's still a very supportive character, and he has episodes like Something Smells, Grandma's Kisses, or Patty Hype. Because of this, there's really no big shift in his character. However, a new aspect of his character is revealed, his selfishness, which we see more of in the future. Some examples in this phase from Season 2 and 3 are in Dumped, I'm With Stupid, and New Student Starfish, at least for a little bit of that episode. Now the third phase is just one single episode.
Wait. What do you mean by...
It's an interesting concept. What if Patrick became the smartest fish ever? The reason this counts as a phase is because everything goes back to normal by the end of the episode. However, there is character development because Patrick tries to become stupid again so he can be friends with SpongeBob instead of being rude to him. During this time, as I mentioned, Patrick became the smartest fish in the entire town, to the point where his genius made it so that he couldn't maintain a relationship with anyone. Not Sandy, Plankton, or Squidward, and especially not SpongeBob. The main shift in his character here is shown when he willingly gives up his...
Now, I want to know, is Patrick actually more clever than he let on, or is his brain simply wired differently? The answer, I believe, lies in the show in turn to subvert our expertise character development by making Patrick both silly and smart. So it showed Patrick's smart side, and it showed like can Patrick to unplug his brain and switch it back to stupid
his brains to keep his friendship with SpongeBob. Just because he has a new brain doesn't mean that he forgot any of his old memories as shown by what he's saying. Because of this, when he makes the decision to leave his smartness to pursue friendship, it comes from Patrick, not from his new brain. And that shows that he truly cares and respects his friendship with SpongeBob, no matter how he's acted in the past. And this is a really big phase, because Patrick as a character grows here. We see his more nice side come out instead of his previously mentioned selfish side. In phase 4, he acts a little too much like SpongeBob. This phase is similar to a smart but stupid phase, and we'll see a ton of this up until season 9. The only difference is the character development and him acting more like SpongeBob in terms of how smart he is. The main difference is that this phase is very short, lasting only 14 episodes. Some of his stupider moments come in Krusty Towers when he buys a room to eat a Krabby Patty. Remember, he lives 400 yards from the...
Remember, this man lived like 40 minutes away from a Krusty Krab. So, why in the world will you go and spend your money on a hotel? Or walk away and you go and say, let me buy a room, and then you use a room to eat your... Bro, what?
Krusty Towers. However, he had one of his smartest moments in Squidastic Voyage. He comes up with a plan to escape Squidward's body after everyone else is panicking.
We could filter the CO2 through our ballast tanks, refire the engines, and ride the shockwave out of here.
He also uses big words, which only supports that he's kinda smart. He even has some supportive moments like in Chimps Ahoy and in Wishing Well. In Chimps Ahoy, he tries to build a cool invention so that the chimps don't kick out Sandy and force her to leave Bikini Bottom. In Wishing Well, he tries to help SpongeBob look for the magic well. Now, this is a very short phase, so there's really nothing selfish about Patrick, but overall as a character, he did grow very much. In this phase, he kind of turns back to his ordinary self, before he became smart in Patrick's Smarty Pants. He's smart sometimes, but he's usually stupid, and he still remains somewhat of a supportive friend, not only to SpongeBob this time, but also to Sandy. This shows that there's no real character development besides maybe not being selfish, which is a good thing. However, while we didn't see any of his selfish moments in this phase, that doesn't mean that Patrick is magically improved as a character. Remember, this guy is still pretty selfish, and we're just about to see that. Phase 5 says it all, the jerk phase. This phase only contains 3 episodes, but it might be the most selfish phase Patrick has ever gone through. The episodes in question are Driven to Tears, Rule of Thumb, and Born to be Wild. In Driven to Tears, Patrick gets his license on his first attempt after SpongeBob fails yet again. I made a video on this. I have no clue how Patrick passed, but if you watch the video, you might find out.
What's that video that Spot talking about? SpongeBob keep on failing every time. It's like SpongeBob I thought like he knows the book in like the back of his hand. Like he can read the whole entire driving book without even looking at it. He can take a written test and get A's every time on the written test. Right? This man passed boarding school 100 times more than anybody. But then when he comes to the last part, getting behind the wheel, he forget everything. How you go from being the top of your class in a boarding school know the back of a driving manual to failing every second you get in the boat.
So go watch it. After winning a boat for being the 2 millionth person, he started acting more like a jerk to SpongeBob. He believes that just because he passed the boating test, he's somehow magically smarter and superior.
Cause look, he had like jerk trying to show like, man, I got my permit, I got my license, and you get nothing. I got the boat and everything.
To SpongeBob. He acts like a jerk right up until the end of the episode where SpongeBob goes to jail on his behalf. Even after he tries to be nice, SpongeBob still has to take the time for him. He still has to go to jail for him. He's selfish and he acts like a jerk during the entire episode. He also believes that SpongeBob is jealous of him, which is kinda true. This makes up for his lack of selfishness in the previous phase, but is nowhere near the end of it. Rule of Dumb might be the worst Patrick episode ever, because he acts really stupid in the beginning when he tries to eat a crown. Come on, dude. However, after learning that he's now magically the king of Bikini Bottom, he starts to use his powers for evil, such as eating at the Krusty Krab for free, stealing candies from babies, and stealing comic books from collectors. He even tears down Squidward's house for his personal use. This episode even addressed—
He did. He actually did tear down Squidward's house, just because he wanted to. It wasn't no reason for him to tear down Squidward's house. He just demolished Squidward's house and said, man, destroy. What? Like, you didn't try to put a theme park, no mall, no nothing. You just destroy. Now that make it seem like how a stupid person would.
This is Patrick's change in behavior and shows what he's become. The only good thing to take out of this is that Patrick is genuinely disgusted by what he becomes. That's the only good thing. In Born to be Wild, Patrick lowers down the jerkness because he doesn't actually do anything bad, and so maybe he's kind of going back to normal. However, his stupidity is influenced by SpongeBob, so technically Patrick wasn't the idiot, but he still chose to believe SpongeBob, which is kinda stupid. Patrick's character development in Driven to Tears is next to none. He is the antagonist right up until the end of the episode. He even lets SpongeBob take the fall and go to jail for a few months on his behalf. While he enjoys his freedom, SpongeBob is stuck in jail. The only real character development we see in this entire episode is that Patrick becomes more selfish than in phase 2 when his selfish behavior was first introduced. Then in Rule of Dumb, we see more character development on Patrick's part. While we do see some of the worst we've seen of Patrick in this episode, after all the bad things he's done, he decides to give up the crown and go back to his old life. As I mentioned, he was disgusted by the person he became and he wanted to become nice again. The main character development part is when he gives up his royalty status to return to his normal life, which can be hard for anyone. Kinda like how he does it in Patrick's Smarty Pants. Finally, Born to be Wild, we don't see much character development, but compared to the previous 2 episodes, Patrick overall becomes a better person, just embraces his stupid side. That's the only major thing.
Yep.
Now in phase 6, as I mentioned, we're going back to the norm. He's starting to act like SpongeBob again, smart but stupid. Now every time this phase shows up, we're gonna do 4 things. We're gonna talk about Patrick's smart moments, Patrick's stupid moments, Patrick's selfish moments, and Patrick's supportive moments. Now this is a really short phase, only 5 episodes long, and it isn't even worth mentioning, so I'll just mention some of the notable things Patrick did. In this episode, Patrick makes a new net for SpongeBob after he loses Old Reliable. In return, SpongeBob accuses him of stealing his net, and Patrick is so offended that he decides to move. The main character growth here is that Patrick is once again a supportive friend who stands his own ground when things happen like fights. Also, in the gift of gum, he gives Patrick a big gumball as a gift on Best Friends Day. He also frees SpongeBob, Sandy, and Squidward by eating the same gumball. The main character development in this episode is Patrick strengthening his relationships with his friends like SpongeBob, Squidward, and Sandy. Overall, in this phase, Patrick still shows his more positive qualities and still appears as a more protagonistic character, who the audience can still kind of root for. Sure, he has his fair share of negative spotlights, but when he does something good, he really means it, which is always a good sign. Now I think I've named phase 7 very accordingly. Can he get any stupider? Arguably one of Patrick's most stupid moments is seen in the episode Rise and Shine, which a lot of people haven't actually seen because it's like a 3-minute short. Now in this episode, it's just Patrick, alone in his morning routine, his natural habitat. There aren't enough words to describe how stupid Patrick has become in this one specific episode, but I'll try to sum it up as best as I can. So to start off,
Alright.
he doesn't recognize the sound coming from his alarm clock and thinks it's the lamp, which he then proceeds to attack.
How dumb are you? Your alarm clock right there sitting next to you while you sit on a chair. So how you think that's your lamp ringing? That gotta be dumb. And then he talking about blah 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 blah. I don't know what he say, but then he had that nerve to break the lamp. You had the nerve to break your lamp? Alright.
Even when the alarm looks him straight in the face, he can't tell where the ringing is coming from. Then, when he goes for breakfast, he doesn't understand the concept of canned food, which is the only thing in his fridge, and then he can't open it, kinda like the jar in Big Pink Loser. As he throws the can out of anger, the ringing stops and the can opens. But there's more, and it's really not even worth mentioning. To wrap this all up, all we need to remember is that this is his daily routine.
Hey, Patrick, how was your morning?
Usual.
This phase is really to show how stupid Patrick can really be and how he's become this stupid guy.
So this is
Honestly, he
his
doesn't know
daily
anything.
morning
You can see
routine?
comparisons from season
Wow.
1 to see how stupid he truly has become. However, Patrick's stupidity has still remained tame to an extent and is still kind of funny to the character, so it doesn't hurt the character overall too much. Now, we're gonna get to something I call the interface analysis. I call this like the halfway point of the video. So in the interface analysis, we're going to see how the character has developed so far, and so we can try to recount when the character changed for the worse. It will be easier so we can split the phases into two. So in season 1, we see that Patrick is a supportive and loyal friend who respects his friendship with SpongeBob. He's not entirely stupid, but he does dumb things. Overall, this sets up a good start for the character. He's very likable, and any episode he leads won't necessarily flop. A key change to highlight between phase 1 and phase 2 is that Patrick embraces his stupid side a bit more. He has his dumb moments, but he's still a supportive and loyal friend. However, that's not the biggest change in his character, because between phase 1 and phase 2, we also see a new aspect of Patrick we never saw before, his selfish side. Right now, it's tame, and it doesn't outright make him a bad character, but it shows that he has the capabilities to be an antagonist. Phase 2 takes place around season 2 and 3, and a little bit in the start of season 4, where we eventually get to the episode Patrick Smarty Pants, where the third phase begins. The real only highlight in this phase is that Patrick shows his loyalty to his friendship to SpongeBob when he ditches his brain to remain with his best friend. This is the best redeeming quality and can somewhat make up for his new, more selfish character. Phase 4 is a lot like Phase 2, and the only real character development it shows is that there's no character development within Patrick, as he continues to have his smart but stupid and supportive and selfish moments. However, the fifth phase shows that Patrick can really be a bad guy.
Wow, the cat is very cute. I like the cat. Do you like the cat? Please kill it. Why do you do this? I'm very angry. You are a crazy person. Because it will kill us. That doesn't seem like a bad guy.
The fifth phase demonstrates the worst aspects of Patrick's character. His selfish side comes out and Negan shows what he truly becomes when he gains too much power. In Rule of Dumb and Driven to Tears, Patrick is the lead and the main antagonist of the entire episode. This makes him much harder to watch during the 2-episode phase, but his redeeming qualities are much better and can still make him a somewhat good character. This was more of a speed bump, but it was important in showing what Patrick can become if he gets too much power over others. Phase 6 is extremely short, but it's a return to normality as Patrick goes back to acting like SpongeBob. The main thing to remember is that Patrick is not as smart as SpongeBob. There was no real character development at all.
Really not.
Phase 7 shows that he's now embracing his stupid side even more, and he continues to show that he honestly is just an idiot. The main thing is that he goes through that routine every day, meaning he hasn't become this stupid, he was always this stupid. We just never saw it. So for the interface analysis, at this point, Patrick has remained a relatively likable character to the average person. Sure, he has his selfish moments, but his friendship with SpongeBob is getting along pretty well. He has his funny moments which make up for it. So at this point, Patrick is not necessarily a bad character in the show. Nothing bad has actually happened. His character has not been destroyed. Well, let's get to phase 8. By the way, Phase 8 is only 16 episodes. I know, these are very short. Some of his more stupider moments are in episodes like Fungus Among Us, where he bursts SpongeBob's bubble when SpongeBob is infected. He also seen being stupid in Crabs a la Mode when he's seen licking a wall. That's great, Patrick. Since this
Great, Patrick. Licking the wall, and you burst SpongeBob bubble. Knowing SpongeBob will try and tell you that you're sick, and he told you stop. And then after you burst the man bubble with a hook, you try dancing like you won the game. What is wrong with you?
Very short. There's really nothing else to show for Patrick. He literally did nothing. No supportive, smart, or selfish moments to account for in this phase. Phase 9, Goo Goo Gas. Now this isn't actually a phase. I lied. I just really wanted to mention this is one of the first times where we see Patrick with that one stupid, antagonizing, idiotic baby tooth. That thing is the bane of my existence. We all know that that one tooth is a signifier of Patrick's stupidity. The only thing to take away from this phase is that from here on out, Patrick's IQ will drop drastically and we'll see his more negative characteristics come out. Phase 10, he's smart, but he's also stupid. You already know what this is going to look like, so let's continue. By the way, only 17 episodes long. Some of his more stupider moments are in episodes like Picture Day, where he deliberately messes up SpongeBob before his picture day at Mrs. Puff's boating school. Also in Pat No Pay, he eats.
I'm really not into this situation, but it's getting me to a point where Patrick just delivered wrong. Delivered scenes that make no damn sense. Delivered plot, conflict, solution, revolution. Maybe he delivered the stupidness that never really been out.
Just starting to use Patrick to be the butt of the jokes, meaning that he's only gonna get stupider. The main character development is that Patrick is finally becoming stupid like we know him in seasons 13 and 14. It was also hard to find any selfish moments, which is a good thing, so maybe his character is improving. Sure, he's getting stupider, but at least he's being nicer. Phase 11, Spongicus. Once again, this really isn't a phase, but just one episode. But I really wanted to mention one thing about Patrick in this episode, which truly shows that he has just 0 IQ points remaining. In this episode, Plankton creates a coliseum to convince customers to come to the Chum Coliseum instead of the Krusty Krab. Part of the experience is to watch live battles between fish and animal fish. In the first event, Patrick will be fighting a sea lion. Looking at Patrick's expression at the start, it's clear that he was on board with the idea before seeing the lion. He knows
I don't know who told you.
Nobody said anything.
A person would actively put themselves in danger, especially against a lion. Before this, Patrick would do stupid things, but
real
nothing
smart
homicidal.
person,
Or
not insane
suicidal
person.
in this case.
Smart
But
person
now
would
he's
put
oblivious
himself
to
in
danger,
risk
and
to
he's
do
willing to fight a
something
lion for some
like that.
food. It just further shows that he's stupid no matter his occasional smart moments. He's just becoming stupider by the day. Phase 12 and 13. Seasons 9 through 10.
No,
I really
by
don't
the
have anything
minute,
to say
not
besides
day.
that he's stupid. It's nothing you haven't heard before. He doesn't get any better in season 9 as possibly expected by some. Also, by this point, the show has changed its type of comedy, and for Patrick, that really just means that he'll just do more random and stupid things for the sake of laughs. Because of this, there's no growth in Patrick's character for almost 2 whole seasons. Phase 14, Ink Lemonade. I'm sure a lot of you guys have not heard of the episode Ink Lemonade, but it was the episode I watched when I kind of came back to SpongeBob after it kind of went south. And geez, it's been crowned as the worst episode of all of.
Before he tell y'all, I want to know down y'all thoughts, right? Down in the comment, what y'all thought about that episode? What did y'all thought about Ink Lemonade SpongeBob?
In this episode, we'll be talking a bit about Patrick's stupidity, but we see a ton of his selfish side. As mentioned, Ink Lemonade has been crowned as one of the worst episodes of SpongeBob history, and it's all thanks to Patrick. The episode can be simply summed up as Patrick wants to sell lemonade and realizes that Squidward's ink tastes good. I don't even know what to say. I quit. And so, because it tastes so good, he sells it and constantly scares Squidward to get more ink out of him. It gets to the point where Squidward is mentally and physically scarred for the rest of his life. He does this to make a quick buck, showing that he can be extremely selfish. Well, we come to the final phase, and there's only one thing I'm gonna say. Remember in season 1 when Patrick was this interesting, helpful, and funny guy who was just a side character to SpongeBob? Yeah, well, the idea is remade and promptly killed with the 2 episodes Pat the Dog and Pat the Horse. These are pretty much the
what do you mean
death
by
of
Pat
Patrick
the
as a
Dog, Pat the
character.
Horse?
Both episodes, if you couldn't already guess, pretty much show Patrick wanting to either be a dog or a horse respectively. This is a fully grown adult, by the way. Just saying. Remember when I used to have a brain? But honestly, like, you took a character and you completely killed it off with these brain dead moments. What added charm to Patrick's humor was that it was temporary, and he wasn't outright brain dead. He still functioned like a normal person.